where have you been? I've missed you. Come to ask for permission tonight? So, check it out, guys. I made these cute little challenge coins. Hi, Miss Shut. Because I didn't get changed. Hey guys. Look, Shy. I made cute little challenge coins. Woo! These are the pixie dust that I have this time. And then they say 2026 on the back. Because I was told that cast members love these cute little things, but they also like to have the year on them. So, yeah. I put the year on them. Yeah. So, aren't they cute? Look at it. So I made about 30 of them. I hope that's enough. I just got to figure out how I'm going to carry them around the park because I'm going to use my small purse instead of my big purse. I'm not bringing the backpack. I'm bringing the cute little Muppet Labs bag that Abby got for me last year. So I don't know. I have no idea how I'm going to manage this, but we'll see. Teeny backpack. No. All of my Loungeflies, like my Loungefly backpacks at this current moment, are beginning to show signs of wear and tear. Like the blue is coming off of my Hydrangea backpack, which I don't want to like damage it further. My Boba Fett backpack, the straps are coming loose and are fraying a bit. So I need a new Loungefly. I have one that I really, really want. It's on Amazon. It's purple. It's super adorables. I might buy it before I go to Disneyland, but I'm not buying it right now. You're bringing your very damaged pirate's backpack. Oh no! I'm trying to think if I have any other backpacks. I don't have a lot of Loungeflies, like the mini backpacks. I only have the 2. And the only thing, get a wolf pack. Nah. The only other hi, Brandon! Yeah, so I don't know what I'm gonna do for that. But yeah. Oh, and I also made these. I haven't finished. I have to make the other ones. But I made these cute little, Figment dragon wings for my shoelaces. I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna get them on my shoelaces yet, because there was supposed to be grommets that my mom was gonna bring me, but then my mom forgot to bring me the grommets, so I don't know how I'm gonna do this yet. I'll figure it out. But I made cute little. No, I want to use my Muppet bag. And then I decided I am going to bring. Okay, so I'm definitely bringing these ears for our Hollywood Studios Day to go with my Vader Palpatine shirt because I feel like it matches. So I'm gonna wear this for sure. But oh, well, I could change purses. I'm gonna bring a slightly larger suitcase. So I could change purses. So I could wear the Muppet, well, no, because the Muppet bag would be for Hollywood Studios, not my Vader bag. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna bring my Muppet Studios bag, and then I have my cute little Vader ones from last year, so I'm gonna wear these. Because I'm not buying ears when we go this time. I'm not buying ears. I'm saving, like, my money, my spend at Disney money to get new wearables for when I go to Disneyland, because I already know that I'm going to buy new ears at Disneyland. I'm going to buy the 70th anniversary ears to go with my 50th anniversary ears that are back here. I say that. But see, here's the thing. We're going to go to Character Warehouse first. We're going to go to Character Warehouse on Thursday when we get there on the way to the hotel. So then I'll get all the cute wearables for way less than I would spend at the park, and then I won't need to get the stuff at the park, right? Right? And plus, after last year and like my Flower and Garden, the Spirit jersey that I wanted, I didn't buy it during Flower and Garden, and it showed up at Character Warehouse when I went with Minnie Mando and Abby for HHN. You know what? Even if there's a Spirit jersey that I really, really, really want, I'm gonna wait to go to the Character Warehouse in September because, yeah. Also, I applied for a new job today. It's at the same company. It's just in a more senior role. I am really, really hoping that I get it because it would be a very nice pay rise. Enough of a pay rise that I might be able to get an annual pass. No, I'd probably pay off my credit card. I would pay off all of my debt first before I got the annual pass. Where is the store located? It is like 15 minutes away from like the sign, like from Disney property, probably like 25 minutes away from the hotels. You just have to search for Character Warehouse. I don't have the address offhand. But it's very, very nice. You do get really great discounts, not gonna lie. My favorite is the Spirit jersey. Oh yeah, there are two. Are we gonna try and hit up both? That's a question for y'all. Do we want to try and hit both before we go? Plus, the other reason I'm not buying ears is I'm gonna buy, my nephew ears, like, I wanted to get him 2026 graduation ears because that's why he's going on the trip. It's his graduation present. So, yeah, that's what we're going with. Anyway, I'm going to wear these ears to Hollywood Studios. But the real question is, my other ears, which one should I wear to Magic Kingdom? It's a tough choice. They're both so different. Do I wear my 50th anniversary ears or do I wear my Disneyland ears? So I bought these at Disneyland, several years ago. These ears are the ears that I bought the, trip to Disneyland where when we got home from the park, I, yelled at Mando Dad for a good solid 10 to 15 minutes because I was mad at him that he had not proposed to me in front of the Disney castle. Okay? True story. I was mad at him because he did not propose in the way that I thought he would. What was funnier is that he was trying really hard not to laugh because he already had my engagement ring and he was already planning on asking me to marry him. He was just going to wait until Thanksgiving when all of our family was together. Also, I think he did it because I was expecting it to happen when we went to Disneyland in 2013. And because I was expecting it then, he was not going to do it because I was expecting it. Because he's like that. Lord help me, I love him, but no, he likes Disneyland. Mando Dad likes Disneyland. He hates Disney World for two reasons. One, because I'm a little psycho at Disney World. I have a plan, and he doesn't like that I have a plan. He also does not like the fact that when we go to Disney, it's a week of Disney, right? It's not like one day. Disneyland is one day. Disney World is a whole week. And so, like, he can put up with Disneyland for a single day, because, I'm less psycho about it, I guess. I don't know. But that's number one. And number two, he can deal with the getting up early one day to go to Disneyland. He is not great at the one... He does not like the fact that I will get up at 5 o'clock in the morning so that I can be at rope drop at 7 because the park opens up at 8. He doesn't like that. He thinks that's insane, which is fair, kind of is. He does not find that relaxing on vacation. He wants to relax on vacation, and I don't. So, he does not like going to Disney World with me. But, as I pointed out, first of all, he owes me a family trip to Disney World next year because it's been 5 years, and we're supposed to go every 5 years with the children as a family. And he said, no, He's like, I send you to Disney World once a year so I don't have to go. And I said, but the kids need to go. And I said, he's like, I don't want to get up early. And I was like, see, I have solved said problem. We can stay at Shades of Green, and then he can sleep in until 10, and I don't care because I can hop on a bus, and I don't... See, the problem is that before, when we've gone, I have staff property. And we rent a car, or it's his car, and either way, I don't get to drive them. So he either has to wake up at dark 30 to take me to the park, or I have to sleep in. And I'm going to tell you right now, I will be absolutely obnoxious, so you might as well get up. So, yeah. So I've solved the problem now. We'll just stay on property, and then he doesn't have to worry about me needing to wake him up. He can wake up at 10, and I will already be 5 churros deep. I should not have said that. That did not sound right. Anyway, that's what's happening. So tomorrow I leave for Disney. I am super excited. Oh my gosh, I cannot contain it. I have to go to work in the morning, and I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen Mando yet. I might do that on Thursday. Yes, I'm so excited to see you tomorrow. I might try and do that Thursday night, if I can, but I'm also supposed to go to Jock Lindsay's, and there's like a whole list of things that I'm supposed to do on Thursday, in Orlando, so I don't know. But I might try, because there's that movie theater at Disney Springs, so I might try and see the Mando movie. It has not got good reviews. I called it, didn't I? I called it. I knew it wouldn't do great, because The Mandalorian is not really designed for that format, but it's fine. My handsome husband is in it. Hang on. I need a new image. Because we are not reading Maul anymore, are we? No, we are not. Ooh, did not mean to do that. Okay, there we go. So we are starting our book tonight, our new book, Queen's Peril. This is one of those times where we're jumping from Legends timeline into canon timeline. This book is considered canon. The books that we've been reading beforehand are not canon. Things like Cloak of Deception, Plagueis, all those, they were not canon books. But this is a canon event. So this is a canon book. Super fun. Same rules apply as always, which I guess if I'm going to put those rules up, I need to have a goal. And look at that! Luna jumps in right as we're about to start reading. Ha ha. Yeah. You know what? We'll just say if we get to 100 points, that'll count. So yeah. Just about to start reading Queen's Peril. Let's dive in, shall we? So at the time that this book starts, Padme is 14. 14. Just remember that. Padme is 14. All right. Annie is 6. No. Yes. She's 6 years older. So he'd be 8. I think she's 6 years older. Also, I discovered that Anakin Skywalker is the same age as Grogu. So Grogu and Anakin Skywalker are exactly the same age. They were both born the same year. And Padme is older than Grogu. Yep. I did the math, and that's really weird. But yeah, Padme is older than Grogu, despite the fact that Grogu is 50 years old. So isn't that fun? But yeah, fun fact, Grogu and Anakin are the same age. Mm-hmm. Yep. Chapter 1. The morning of the election, Quarsh Panaka let his tea get cold. His wife, Marique, fresh off her shift in the palace, suffered no hesitation, and drank it for him when it became apparent he wasn't going to tear himself away from the screen for anything so mundane as breakfast. She sniped the fresh fruit off his plate as well. It's too early to be checking, she pointed out, her mouth full. I'm not checking for results, he said. There hadn't been a true scandal during a Naboo election in decades, but Panaka was not about to let that record be broken on his watch. As a captain in the Royal Security Forces, it was his privilege to ensure that everything went without a hitch. This time, it was even more important. The candidate whose protection had been assigned to him was favored to win. Panaka was going to be ready for anything. There were crowds to monitor, and while the security forces were more than capable of that, he was curious about what the hollow news might catch. It was always best to have as many eyes as possible. I'm going to bed, Marique said. Panaka didn't look up at that. She stood, and he took her hand in his. They'd been on opposite shifts ever since he was reassigned to a electoral detail in anticipation of what a new monarch might require. And he missed her. Sleep well, love, he said. Please, eat something, she replied, and left him to it. Panaka dutifully ate 3 bites off his plate, and he had just decided that maybe he was hungry after all, when his private comm sounded. Panaka, he said, holding the device in the flat of his palm. The image wavered, and a familiar form appeared in his hand. He straightened. Senator Palpatine. Good morning, Captain, the senator said. Usually the Naboo senator returned home to vote, a demonstration to his people and to the Republic that he took all of his roles within the democratic system seriously. But this time he had been kept away by serious business. To be honest, Panaka had missed him. Everything seemed to go more smoothly when the senator was around and always had, even when Panaka was still a clerk in the legislative office and Palpatine's star was on the rise. It was handy to have reliable colleagues. I'm sorry to make contact so early, Palpatine continued. There's a vote later that I can't afford to miss, but I wanted to check in with you today. And I'm afraid that with the time differences, by the time my Senate business dies down, it will be too late. If I remember, if in Plagueis they talked about this, he didn't technologically manipulate the vote, but he ran he helped fund an awful smear campaign of the other candidate, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. But yes, I agree with you, Omni, that Palpatine probably did rig the election. Just saying. It's not a problem, Senator, Panaka replied. Everything here is going well. The lines are orderly and the polls are open in less than half an hour. All signs point to a smooth election. Do they point to a result yet? Palpatine asked. Panaka hesitated. Technically, as government officials, they were supposed to discourage speculation. As concerned citizens, however, they were free to discuss their thoughts. Panaka was always careful to keep his work and his private life separate. It was one of the reasons his marriage was so successful. Yes, that was part of it too. Because if we remember in Plagueis, Palpatine talked to Padme's dad about her running for office. He wanted her because he thought he could manipulate her because she was so young. Queen Amidala is young and naive. They really did underestimate her. Not officially, of course, he said. He picked up his teacup, forgetting Marique had drank it earlier. But it appears your hunch was correct. It won't be a scandal if she doesn't win, but it will be a surprise. As a rule, Naboo queens kept their office for full two terms. However, when Queen Relata had retired after only one, the planet had to elect a replacement for her before they expected to. There were wonderful candidates, of course. Naboo tradition allowed for nothing else. But the populace had been more fractured in voting than they usually were. Senandrasa wasn't a bad queen, but she didn't have the support a ruling monarch should expect. Her re-election was, at best, a long shot. Oh, so they changed it. Because well, it began with a V, right? Baron, something like that. That was the reigning monarch of Naboo before Amidala. But they apparently changed it to Queen Raylata? Reillata. So obviously this is one of those breaks in the timeline between the Legends timeline and the canon timeline. Because the canon timeline has it. Padme's predecessor was Queen Relata, and in Legends timeline it was King Varuna! Was it Varuna? Something. King before Padme Legends. Varuna! I was right. King Ars Varuna. Knew it was close. Good, good, Palpatine said. His gaze flickered away. From Panaka's, something on Coruscant must have drawn his attention. I look forward to seeing this through, Captain. In the meantime, I do apologize, but the new taxation bills have finally been transmitted, and they require my attention. Of course, Senator, Panaka replied. Thank you for calling. Palpatine disconnected without any further comment, and Panaka flipped his holo back to the news screen. It was always like that with them. Work first. Panaka found it comforting. There was never any doubt about where he stood. His chronometer chimed, indicating that it was later than he'd thought. Marique had voted early, and Panaka had gone with her, but hadn't cast his own ballot yet. He loved Election Day, and his duties didn't start until mid-afternoon, so he was free to vote at a regular poll. Whistling happily a song that had been stuck in his head since he'd left the conservatory, he put his dishes in the cleaner, made sure he had the proper identification in his pocket, found his boots, and headed out to make a difference. Jon Snow? What about Jon Snow? We are not reading Jon Snow. We are reading Queen's Peril. Completely different book. Rui Noberi brushed the sawdust off his vest and wondered where in his life he had gone wrong. Usually he would take a moment to watch the falling wood shavings, evidence of a job done in perfect detail. But today there was no time for that. Today, despite his best efforts, his daughter didn't need him. She was gone. He hadn't seen her in a few days, except on the holes as she gave last-minute campaign speeches, and then again this morning when she and the other candidates had cast their ballots live for the whole planet to see. It was strange to think about, his youngest trying to be queen of the planet. He couldn't acknowledge her as such. Hi, Random Ask with Frank. People knew, of course, it was impossible to achieve complete anonymity, even with the practice wheels of Naboo's democratic machine. But no one was going to blow Amidala's cover. Later, if she was successful and her reign was favorable, her family and friends would explode with pride. But that was for when her term was done. Now Naboo needed a queen. Rui pulled back his thoughts before they could run too far ahead into the future. She might not win the election. She had done very well during the campaign, but that wasn't always an indication of success. Rui had left politics behind a long time ago, save when some cause pulled him back in, and he made use of his extensive contacts off-world. And he was no stranger to its workings. Things could always turn out unexpectedly. And, if he was forced to be honest with himself, he almost hoped they would. If she lost, then she could still be herself without the eyes of hundreds on her every move. Rui didn't doubt for a moment that his daughter genuinely wanted to be queen, but it wasn't the hope that he had for her. He wanted his daughters to be happy first, and to provide their service to the planet outside of that happiness. Being elected might make her happy, but it would always be tied to something else. He was still going to vote for her, obviously. Rui, it's time to go, Jobal called from inside their well-appointed house. Unlike her husband, Jobal Naberi had very few doubts about how this day was going to go, nor did she feel his reluctance at the probable outcome. Their daughter was young, and with the screen around her public life that Naboo tradition would maintain for her, there was no reason at all why she couldn't move on when her time was up. I did not take my allergy pill. That's what's going on. Jobal was deeply proud, of course, and also wildly curious about what her daughter would do. It was a strange feeling, one Rui didn't understand at all, but Jobal couldn't seem to shake it entirely. It was, she thought at the very least, a good balance for his reservations. A family hollow caught her eye, and Jobal stared at it for a long moment. The image captured Padme and her sister in the garden as toddlers, carefully weeding ordered rows of vegetables. Padme had insisted on a kitchen garden, and done most of the work herself, sure that the food that she produced would be given to the people who needed it. Even in a semi-frozen moment in the past, Padme was a force to be reckoned with. Jobal had known that. She'd seen it from the time the girls were little. To have the potential tapped so early in Padme's life was a gift, and Jobal knew her daughter wouldn't squander it. Brett, I don't understand why you would say that. We are reading a book. Do you not know how to read? Don't insult when I'm reading. I do not enjoy it. Rui met her in the living room, and she reached out to brush the last of the sawdust from his clothes. She wrinkled her nose as a fine cloud filled the air, not because she didn't like it, but because it always made her want to sneeze. Her husband leaned over and kissed her. "Stop that," she said. "It's a holiday," he said. He had decided not to sulk about it, she guessed, and she'd appreciated that. "You can celebrate later." She held out his hat and steered him into the foyer after he took hold of it. She sat down to fasten her shoes and made sure he was putting on something other than his gardening clogs. "Are you ready?" she asked. "For our daughter to be Queen of Naboo?" he said. He was quiet for a long moment, one hand resting on the door without opening it. "You know, I think I am," he said. "I wasn't until right now, but she'd worked so hard, and I respect that." "I wonder who she got her work ethic from," Jobal said. Rhetorically, for the most part, but Rui never let anything slide. "Are you saying it's our fault?" he asked. "We had her off-world working on aid missions when she was 7, Jobal pointed out. "I just feel like that might have contributed to her calling." "I suppose you're right, my love," he said. He offered his arm, and she took it, and together they stepped out into the courtyard and joined their neighbors on the way to the polls. Sheev Palpatine had read over the taxation bill for the last time. Officially, it was the first time he'd seen it, and so he took care to make it look like he was reading deeply into the document. The truth was that he had preoccupied with several other things, and was only checking the bill to make sure none of the details he required had been left out. He would vote against it, of course. The bill would be a disaster for Naboo and for several other mid-rim systems, and this time, at least, the bill wouldn't pass. He'd added enough matters of substance that the Trade Federation wouldn't be able to swallow to ensure that their allies would vote it down. But it would be another step closer, and he had the next 3 bills written in just in case. "Senator, it's time," said one of his aides. Palpatine let them herd him toward the Senate chambers, nodding at all the right people as they crossed paths in the corridors on their way to the pods. His face was bland, politely interested in what was being said around him. It was not an uncommon expression in the Senate hallways, but Palpatine had perfected it a long time ago. Soon enough, he would step into the spotlight, and his colleagues would see the blandness drop away. But that would also be an act. No one ever saw his true face, the pure anger that burned in him. But they might. Someday. Yeah, someday. "Hi, Mindless! Welcome in. We started our new book tonight." Padme Naberi... Can't talk. Padme Naberi had done the last thing she could. She had voted for herself when the candidates cast their ballot. She was sure each of them had, but for her at least it was the final step in proving to herself that she was ready. She trusted herself enough to be queen. The arrogance of it, thinking she was thinking she was that much better than her fellows rankled her a bit. But Naboo had a failsafe in place for that. She wouldn't rule as Padme if she won. No one would even know who Padme was, if everything went to plan. She would bear the robes and responsibilities of Naboo's crown, and she would give herself to the entire League, even to the extent of forsaking her own name for the duration of her reign. It was tradition, but it was a comfort, too, a reminder that her part was bigger than herself, and that she would be acting in service, not selfishly for her own gain. She hadn't really understood it until the morning, when her ballot chip slid into the box. She thought that an anemone, I can't talk tonight. An anemone was for her protection, and in a way it was, but it was also to protect someone else. And it was time, her time. Amidala. Thus concludes chapter 1. Are we still awake? What do we think? Are we liking it? I mean, it's a Padme book. What's not to like about a Padme book? Just saying. Chapter 2. The newly appointed royal guard gathered to hear the election results in the barracks. They came from all ranks and placements within the security forces, and had been chosen to protect the new monarch, whoever she might be. When am I in Disneyland? June 11th. I'll be at Disneyland on June 11th. And I ordered the fabric to make my 70th anniversary outfit. I'm gonna, make a sort of Disney bounding version of Minnie Mouse's 70th anniversary outfit. Kind of excited. Yeah. And then Minnie Mando will be dressed as Minnie Mouse, and Tiny Mando will be dressed as Daisy. Most of them knew each other since the force wasn't very large, but this was the first time they'd ever been all assembled in the same place, and these were their last few moments to relax before their new task began. Why do you ask when I'll be at Disneyland? Are you gonna be at Disneyland? No. Well, I'm just saying, if you are at Disneyland on June 11th, you don't even have to let me go in. I just want to see inside the door. Please, can I see inside the door? That's all I want. I don't even want a meal. I just want to see inside. Just once. Just saying. I have no idea what you're trying to say, Brett. Panaka did not relax. Just down the hall, the candidates were waiting for the results as well. They had been sequestered since the morning, each given their own small room in which to spend the day reflecting, and soon it would be Panaka's job to fetch the new queen. He knew which door he hoped to open, and was doing his best to pretend that he was still neutral, even though he was well past that this point. At last, the Hollow News switched over from the same pre-recorded election filler that had been running for the past hour, and showed Governor Bibble. The silver-bearded governor was dressed in his usual purple with a wide-sleeved overtunic that followed his every gesticulation with considerable vigor. A hush fell over the guards as Bibble cleared his throat and began the announcements. "Citizens of Naboo," he began. Bibble always spoke as though performing for an audience, which made sense given his background in argumentative philosophy, and which he usually was, so it didn't seem too pompous. "I am pleased to inform you that after a well-fought race on the part of everyone, you have elected candidate Amidala as your queen. This is Queen's Peril. We are only on chapter 2, so you're welcome to join us on this journey. Hi, I'm Mando Mom. I read Star Wars books on the internet for fun. We just started Queen's Peril. We're kind of going with the Legends timeline with a few breaks in between. This definitely give me a follow if you want to follow along. we will be reading The Queen's Peril over the next couple of weeks, months, whatever, however long it takes, to read the book. Yeah. So, but we're going through the Legends timeline. We started with Plagueis, then Cloak of Deception. Everybody, what do we say about Cloak of Deception? And then we read Maul Shadowhunter, Maul Lockdown, which we just finished last week. Technically the next book, after Maul Lockdown should have been The Phantom Menace, but I've never read the Padme books, and I wanted to read the Padme books, so I just kind of like threw them in there, basically on the timeline, even though technically this book is a canon book, and we've been going through Legends. But definitely give me a follow if you want to read the book with me. I go live 3 times a week. Most weeks. I go live when I can. But I am a mom of 2. I work full time, and I am a full-time student. And I'm very busy. I'm also a cosplayer. I'm super busy this summer. There's so many things. Ah, darn, Frank! That's sad. I'm also Ginger, yeah. I try and make other videos. Lately, they're just, like, random thoughts of the day kind of the thing. I have, like, series that I would like to make more of. It's just that they require a lot more prep work and time. So... Aw, thank you, Brett. The other videos that I make, like my series, my Death Star IT videos, which I haven't done in, like, a year, and my Galactic News Network, Carolanix. I don't have time. That's the big thing right now, is I just don't have the time to record those. Because they take quite a long time to record, and then the editing for them, and the script writing for them, and the amount of makeup that I shellac on my face before I do those characters is ridiculous. So I have not had time to make those videos as much as I would like to. Because, again, I work full-time mom, have a house, have a garden, chickens, cosplaying. I'm just constantly busy. Church, that too. I volunteer there. I go and do, like, community aid and volunteer work, and yeah, a couple I get like 5 hours a night. Do I read bad books? Yes, I also read, I wouldn't call them bad. I like spicy books too. I do read spicy books. Yeah. I occasionally dabble in writing. I do 3D printing. I do too many things. You knew it? You knew I read spicy books. Oh, come on. Personally, I like reverse harem. That's just my favorite, but yeah. Reverse harem with swords crossed. Those are my favorite. Just saying that. There's a very, never mind, I'm not gonna say it. There are some stuff on AO3 that I really enjoy that usually involve Boba Fett and Mando and a other person, usually YN. Anyway, just, yeah. Anyway, back to the Padme book. Bibble continued to speak as images of the candidate, now queen, flashed up, reminding anyone who might have forgotten about Amidala's age and campaign goals. But the guards were no longer listening. Every face in the room swiveled to Panaka, whose tightly clenched fists were the only outward signs of his emotions. Ready yourselves for inspection, he said, and then turned smartly on his heel to stride down the corridor to where the candidates were waiting. Yes, there are very interesting stories on AO3. And what are you going to do with the information, Mindless? Unless you're going to give me some book recommendations. That genre is very small. I have found exactly one series that actually did it, like, that said it was part of that genre and actually did that genre, because a lot of times you get one or the other, but not both. Yes, but it's got to be those two specific things. It's not just the one part, it's both parts. The Flag I Fly is very interested in all of those things. Anyway. It was traditional for the new queen to be greeted by her guard captain, a relic of Naboo's past when candidates couldn't even be housed near one another or trust the legislature. Those days were long over, of course, but the Naboo encouraged remembrance over reenactment, and this was one of the many steps taken to remind them of how far they'd come and how far they had to go. She would meet Bibble as queen once she had inspected her personal guard. Panaka paused for a moment outside of Amidala's door, aware that everything was about to change. No longer was he just a guard captain, any more than she was just a candidate. He had liked her well enough during the campaign, but now their names would be linked forever in Naboo's history. It was worth taking a moment to reflect. Panaka waited a few moments longer while the election proctors readied themselves to tell the unsuccessful candidates, and then he opened the door. Uh-oh, Mr. Pierre's here. Time to get spicier. Hi, Mr. Pierre. Your Highness, he said, standing on the threshold. The election is over. Your work has begun. Across the room, a slight figure rose to greet him. She was wearing a white dress that made her seem even younger than he knew she was, but he couldn't for a moment doubt the conviction in her stance. On the campaign trail, she had always been heavily made up, her face painted with cosmetics that reminded people of the weight of her promises. Now her face was bare, with her hair down. It still wasn't easy to get a good look at her. Thank you, Captain, she said. I am ready. She gave nothing away, though Panaka imagined she must be at least a little bit nervous. He looked over his shoulder and saw the last of the proctors disappearing from the hall. If you will come with me, he said, gesturing out of the room. The droid floated off. Your security team is ready for their inspection. A formality, as you know, but it's expected before Governor Bibble gets here to brief you officially. Clacked out. Did you just say, Your Highness? Yeah, we're reading the Padme book. The first of the 3 Padme books. And then we were discussing my personal tastes in spicy books. I don't know why I felt I needed to admit what I read as spicy books or what I look for, but, you know, hey, like I said, I've only found one series that actually covered it, and not even that. I mean, it did well, but not as much as I would have liked. It needed to be spicier. Yes. While watching The Greatest Showman? Oh, that's a good one. Of course, Captain, she said. Her voice was light and impersonal, but he was not offended. She barely knew him. Later we'll talk about how to personalize your security, Panaka said. I have set up a few measures, but I didn't want to get too far ahead of you. It will take us a few days to get settled in, but I am very pleased with the team that has been assembled for you. She didn't reply, but allowed him to lead her down the hall to where her guards were waiting. They stood in 2 lines and straightened to attention with no word from him as soon as he and the Queen came into the room. This was the Queen's personal guard, comprising of 16 guards who would protect her on 4-person rotation. The other palace guards could then concern themselves with operations and coordinate with the Queen as necessary. Panaka had wanted more personnel, but that had been overruled. The Queen looked each guard in the face as they were introduced to her, committing names to memory. It should have been difficult to think of her as powerful just then, surrounded by people who were all so much bigger than she was. But she might have been 3 meters tall for how she carried herself. Once she was fully done up in the royal wardrobe, she would be exceptional. When they reached the end of the line, Panaka dismissed all the guards except for the 3 who were on duty with him. The governor was shown in shortly after that. The early meetings did not take place in the throne room, and Panaka split his focus between watching the queen and watching everyone else watch her. Bibble spoke mostly of procedure and rules, not of policy and substance, so it wasn't a particularly interesting conversation, but the queen gave him her full attention. And that's really all we can cover today, I believe, Bibble wound up. It had been several hours, but the queen showed no sign of exhaustion or boredom. Unless you have any questions? No, thank you, Governor Bibble, Queen Amidala said. Her inflection made it clear that she was a dismissal, even though technically Bibble would still outrank her. Panaka smiled. Though I would appreciate it if you could arrange for someone to send me any relevant political documents. I can read them tonight and be prepared for tomorrow's meetings. Of course, Your Highness, Bibble said, getting to his feet. He nodded to an aide who made a note. I shall send you the files as soon as I have finished the rest of my duties for today. It is a busy one for all of us. The queen nodded graciously to him, and the governor and his aides retired. Amidala got to her feet. Only now, with just the guards for company, did her bearing change. She stretched and rolled her neck, shaking her head like she was trying to resettle all the information she'd just acquired. The transfer of power wouldn't happen for a few more days, and her first public appearances would follow shortly after. Despite the formal nature of the Queen's role and the relative rigidity of the protocol surrounding her, Naboo elections were not overly publicized. Once the candidates were sequestered for the voting, they didn't speak to the public until their full royal persona was ready. Full royal persona. Captain, she said, and the moment was over. Yes, Your Highness. He came to stand in front of her. Would it be appropriate to discuss security over dinner? She asked. There are supposed to be 4 of us on duty, Your Highness, Panaka said. That means no eating for us, but I can still talk to you while you eat. She sighed, but accepted the restriction. Panaka calmed the kitchen and requested that a droid be sent up with dinner for 1. Eventually, when they moved into the palace quarters, the queen would be surrounded by people, but right now it was safer and easier to use droids. Night, Mr. Pierre. Have fun. Get a good night's sleep. I'm not really used to eating by myself, she admitted as she sat down at the table. My father knew we were all busy, but he liked it when we were all together at meals. She was being deliberately vague, he knew, even though he was aware of her real identity. Panaka took that as a good sign. Some monarchs had played fast and loose with the anonymity of the roles required of them, and it was always a headache for their guards when they did. He hadn't been in the personal guard of the current queen, Sendrasa, but he'd heard enough barracks gossip to know that her guards were looking forward to the day when she returned to having only one identity. It had always been something of a fight to separate her from her private persona. Panaka got the impression that his charge picked her battles much more carefully. That's one of the things I was hoping to speak to you about, Your Highness, Panaka said. If he'd felt awkward talking to her while she ate, he gave no indication. Oh? She said, tearing her bread into small pieces. A queen traditionally has at least one handmaiden, as you know, he said. I wondered if you had given any thought to yours. My sister has informed me that she has no wish to serve in my government, the queen said, which didn't surprise me at all. I have a few other friends I could request, I suppose, but I was very focused on the election. I didn't let myself imagine the practicalities that could follow. There's a girl on the Theed Conservatory, Panaka said. She's your age and a decent musician. She's also very intelligent, and her instructors say she is level-headed. I interviewed her a few weeks ago, just in case. She seemed approachable. The queen raised an eyebrow, but did him the courtesy of not asking if he'd interviewed handmaidens on behalf of the other candidates, too. More importantly, he continued, she bears a striking resemblance to you. If she was your handmaiden, and if she was interested, she could train as a bodyguard who would be closer to you than anyone else. Ah, sabe. The queen chewed thoughtfully and then took a drink of water. Is there a need for so much security? She asked. Queen Senadrasa had focused on Naboo politics to the extreme of ignoring the rest of the sector, which had made the other planets uncomfortable. Having 2 single-term queens in a row made Panaka uncomfortable. There were wider implications, too. Naboo had been dedicated to the election for the past month, but reports about mid-rim trade disputes had still made it for the front of the news. I believe in being prepared, Your Highness, Panaka said. In an emergency, she could even switch places with you. I don't want to put another person in danger, the Queen said. Before Panaka could give the obvious answer, her expression shifted, and he changed his mind. It was good that he could already understand her so well. It's unavoidable, she said. That is who I am now. Yes, Your Highness, Panaka said. We call it the burden of command, and nobody really likes it. She paused again, turning the matter over while she watched. He saw her accept his premise, and then her expression immediately clouded again as she found another fault. What good would having a body double do? The Queen said. Well, people would think she was you, Panaka explained. He thought they had cleared that. But if there are just two of us, and we switch, everyone will know, the Queen pointed out. And if the Queen is suddenly alone, people might be suspicious. It hung there for a moment between them. Panaka was smart enough to realize that this was his first test. She had shown him up, and his response would influence how they interacted from this point forward. He swallowed his pride. That is a valid point, Your Highness, he said. Do you have a suggestion? If there are more than two of us, it will make it much harder to tell, she said. Not to mention it will give you the way to ensure I have more than 4 guards on duty. Oh, she was good. I will see what I can do, Panaka said. It may take me a while to find suitable girls. Thank you, Captain, the Queen said. I would like to meet the girl you've already spoken to as soon as possible if you can make the arrangements. The Queen's personal comms device, which she had placed on the table while she ate, chimed. That's the governor, she said, checking it quickly. I think that will be all for tonight, Captain. Your Highness, he said, the guards will be stationed outside your door for the night. The Queen took her plate and utensils to the droid that had delivered her dinner, then turned to go into the room where she would sleep the next few nights. Panaka moved to direct the guards into position. Oh, she said. Captain, before I start reading, is there a secure way to contact my parents? Your personal comm is completely secure, Your Highness, Panaka said. It can be used to contact anyone on Naboo without a trace. Good night, Captain, the Queen said, and shut the door. Panaka could tell the other guards were itching to gossip, but that would wait until they were off duty. He respected their job too much to let them cackle about it in the hallways. The others followed his example and stood quietly. They had only a bit of time before the new shift began in any case. Though through the door, Panaka could hear the Queen speaking, presumably to her parents. Her voice was too low to make out any of the words, but he could hear the rise and fall of her tone as she spoke to them. She was a challenge to read. Most 14-year-olds, even the brilliant ones, showed some emotions when they spoke, but the Queen had hardly done that all afternoon. Even her response to her election had been cold. The replacement guard showed up on schedule, and Panaka headed back to the rooms he shared with Marique. He looked forward to sharing his impressions of their new monarch, and asking for his wife's input after she had met her as well. About halfway home, he'd realized that while he had no idea what was going on in Amidala's head, he hadn't once, in the entire course of the afternoon, forgotten that she was queen. There we go. We are well on our way. I don't say we're well on our way, but 2 chapters down. I don't know how long this book is. There's 25 chapters. So this is a relatively short book for us. Actually, so is Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace isn't very long either. But we'll see how long it takes us, how many days I can do. Like I said, I go live as often as I can, but I get tired. 2 chapters down already. 2 out of 25. Yeah. It's, like I said, this is not a very long book. Most of the Padme books are, I think the Padme books are meant to be kind of close to like a YA read. Maybe, I don't know. I can't say that for sure, but I feel like the Padme books are kind of meant to be a YA. They're YA. Okay. So they're YA. That's why it's so short. But yeah. This is exciting. I love the fact that we're starting a new book. I don't think I have anything else for you guys tonight. I have to sew the other wings for my shoes. I actually am sewing 3 pairs of wings. 2 for my shoes. Oh, I need to do 4. You know what? I'm just not going to bother with it then. Because I was thinking I would make a set of wings for Figment. For Figment's friend. If I get to meet Figment on Friday or Saturday. But now I'm thinking that's not going to happen. So, I don't know. We'll see. We're going to Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom on Friday. We're going to Epcot and Hollywood Studios on Saturday. Oh, and I am getting myself one of those fancy IDs. They have Death Star, like, name tags or IDs or whatever now at Disney Springs. So, yeah, that's why I'm making these. So I can make my shoes look like Figment. So my shoes are light purple with orange accents on them. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're Figment shoes. So I made little tiny dragon wings to go on my shoes. I'll lace them up on my shoes and they'll, yeah. Don't judge me. I am a child. But I really wanted the Figment. Yeah, so. So yeah. These are so I can do little dragon wings on my shoes. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. If I get them done. I don't know. So. No judge, only potato. Okay. Anyway, it's been an hour. I have to finish the laundry and pack my suitcase. I probably can't. Oh, well, I guess I can't pack it until tomorrow morning when Mando Dad gets up. Tomorrow's gonna be crazy. I gotta go to the office. I gotta pick up the nephew. I gotta go to the train station. What else do I need to do tomorrow? There's a lot I gotta do tomorrow. Anyway, we will probably not be reading the rest of the week unless I decide to take the book with me to Orlando and I read to you on Thursday night. But the probability of that happening is incredibly low because I will either be at Jock Lindsay's at 10 p.m. or I will be at, what's the one that's in the Polynesian? Hang on. Trader Sam's. So I will either be at Trader Sam's or Jock Lindsay at 10 p.m. on Thursday night. So, and Friday and Saturday, 10 p.m., I will be crying at fireworks. Yes, I cry at fireworks. Exactly. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good night. I love y'all, and I will see you next week. I will be home by Monday, so I will see you in a week. Anyway, send me a message if you got anything, and be prepared for lots of disgusting Disney content coming on my page, because that's what I do. Love y'all. Mwah. Same thing goes for you guys. I will see you guys when I return. I am also hoping partially that D&D gets canceled on Friday again so I don't miss a session, but, you know, hey. I do miss you guys.